So you said second game. This is a great example for my question. Second game against Cavalry, you had a game plan, and then the players on the field just aren't able to. It's just the game plan is just not working. Mm-hmm. What is that like as a coach, and what do you do? Because obviously you're not on the field. You have this game plan.
Well, the process there, at halftime, it was just a lot of encouragement at halftime in that game to listen. We have a plan. We had a plan coming in. We've not done it yet. Let's get to this because this will work. And I'll tell you, Cavalry is a team that, without any pressure, they'll play the ball around their back line, no problem. But as soon as they invite pressure in and try to draw you towards their back line, because if you look a lot of their games, and if you look their game against us, they have an awful lot of passes in their own half, fewer passes in the opposition half. And all what they're trying to do there is they're trying to entice you out, and then they're going to play a ball over you, and they're going to play a ball into what we call the half channel, right. And they're going to play that ball into the half channel, and they get numbers around it, and they win the seconds, and they win the knockdown, and then they attack from that position. So they've got the ball in your half. It's a great position of the park to attack with numbers, and they get numbers around it. So and then the other thing they can do though is when you do have is. The other thing to do very well, is they're probably the best pressing team in the league. So we wanted to make sure that those two things didn't happen, and so we were going to sit back in a very low block, not let them have that ball over the top, not let them get our lines split. But more importantly, when we got possession of the ball, we were going to make one pass to initiate their press, and then we were going to play the ball longer past their press. So we were going to try to do to them what they did to us. And or what they do to everybody, and we didn't. If you saw that first half, you remember the first half. We would pass it and pass it and pass it and pass it. Next thing you know, we've turned it over, or we've had to play it long, not as a tactic, but as a okay, let's clear it. We're in trouble. So It was no longer a tactic of ours. It just became, okay, we just have to knock it, and then we had no position around the ball, no ability to press ourselves because it was just a clearance without any thought behind it. So we let ourselves down that first half, and even then, though, the low block for the most part was okay, was working. We allowed them to press us. We allowed them to play the entire half in our half because we didn't play it past their pressuring forwards and mids. That was what hurt us. Even then, it took about a 43rd minute goal and a bad bounce. Oliver Minatel tries to score, and it goes off the wrong part of his foot and spins right to Jordan Brown. But this is this is what happens to it's you have to be good to be lucky, and you have to be lucky to be good. So at the end of the day, we probably weren't good enough to be lucky, and we could have used a bit of luck on Oliver Minatel's shot, for example. So second half though, of course, a man down, but you saw it was interesting what I thought. So we just wanted to get back to let's get back to how we prepared for the game. That's all you can do as a manager. And the one thing I will say, and the one thing I've had to remind myself, and I think what I've learned from year one, is that it's a lot easier to make comments and to coach from the sideline than to actually be in the game and having to do it facing real pressure. It's great. Like, it's for me to say, okay, they're going to press you, deal with that press and put this player over the top. But when you actually have, like a Nico Pasquati sprinting at you full speed, and now, okay, what are we supposed to do again? It's, the game is played differently than it's thought about, and so you just try to correct it.
Yeah, one of the most scary things for defenders, an attacking player coming at you fast.
Yeah, and Tommy's a clever guy. He's he knows that at this league, at this point of the league in its infancy, there's going to be technical mistakes. So instead of make technical mistakes in your half, let's get into their half as soon as possible. Let them make the mistakes, and we counter from a better position. It's just at the end of the day, it shows how shrewd that Tommy is. He's a good manager, and because he understands these things, and I didn't. I tried to play out all the time. So.
Well, it works when you're rushing at someone. That's one of my favorite things in soccer. When I'm rushing at someone, and I know they're going to rush the shot, and it just goes sky high, and then just,
that's it.
I'm like,
you force
I didn't
mistakes.
touch the ball, but I,
You force a mistake.
I forced a mistake. Yeah.
And that's what pressure does. Pressure forces mistakes. So the more pressure you get on players, right now, again, this league will grow. This league will get more technical as it grows. But at the early stages, it's not a very technical league yet in that regard. So a really good amount of pressure will force mistakes.
Yeah,
Right.
Tommy and like Calvi are really good at that high press, and they're really good at turning over the ball and having and putting on lots of pressure for the other team to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But I want to talk. But I also have a question for the CPL for you. What do you think that the CPL can do to gain more fans going forward?
Well, the biggest thing the CPL can do, quite honestly, is just be more transparent. I think that if the CPL shares more with the fans, they'll get more buy-in from the fans. Don't keep fans guessing. Because at the end of the day, this game is only going to grow with fan support. There's not enough corporate dollars at the moment to sustain a league. The league needs, the owners need people to attend games. They need people to buy tickets. And yeah, so you're reliant on the support of those that love soccer across this country. So share with them more. That's the biggest thing for me. That transparency piece will help our league significantly. And because we all want to be, soccer breeds a passion in us. I'm in the game because I'm passionate about the game. I love the game. I got very fortunate to be able to coach professionally in this league. I'm delighted, and I'll always remember it and be proud of that. But it comes from an initial passion and love of the sport. So let's encourage it. Let's share more with the fans of the game. Let's share more with those that are invested in it. Because at the end of the day, you need them. And so let's honor that. So that for me is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing for the CPL to do going forward. Because like you said, since it's still a new league, they really need the fan support still to buy tickets. So yeah.
And you don't want those opinionated people on Twitter to take over if the league's not being transparent about things.
Well, and that's the problem, right? Because then you're not going to control the narrative, and you just allow negativity to creep in. So control your own narrative. It's your league, control it. You set the narrative, and you let us all know what's happening. Yeah.
Right. Now, one of the things that really struck me about you is you seem to have, Jeff, a really great deal of care for your players and your organization. And just like, I got the sense of real empathy from you. So how do you balance that with making the tough decisions that you have to make as a coach?
Yeah, honestly, coaching U12, coaching professional, it's just as difficult. I found it just as difficult in dealing with players that you don't retain. Although I can't stand the concept of cutting kids that are U12. That makes no sense to me, but it happens. So, it's not easy. Again, so many of these, of the players at FC Edmonton, I've known since they were kids. I've known since they were 14 years old. I've coached many of them since they were 14 or 15 years old. So you develop a real emotional attachment, a real care for them. Listen, that's a part of the game that, I don't think I'll ever be able to really change in myself. Honestly, I've not always been. I'll tell you what. I've had some situations with players that I really regret and I really feel bad about. And I wish I could take it back because the pressures of the game in year one, again, with the pressures of having to win and the pressures of 11 games without a win, I needed to be able to learn to handle that situation better. And I did learn from it, but I learned from it by ruining a relationship with the player, unfortunately, and so as much as, I care for the players, there's some learning moments there as well of not letting the stress of this coaching job affect who you are. And it did a bit in 2019, in a few circumstances. So I don't want to claim that I am, fully perfect. And when it comes to empathy and stuff, I've made some mistakes. But I do care about the players. I think that's important. Honestly, I made some comments and I wanted to protect our players because there was a lot of stuff being said on Twitter, about FC Edmonton, obviously, and PEI when you go winless, and our fans are suffering. I get it. Our fans want to see a winner here. They've been loyal to this club for 10 years, 9 years, sorry. They want to see us win. So I get their disappointment when we're not. But that disappointment should be directed at the club. That should be directed at the head coach. That should have been directed at me. When a few of them made it personal, a few of them started calling out players and calling them bums and things like this, I couldn't tolerate that. Because these are players. Some of them first year pros, some of them very, very young, trying everything they can to win a game. There's not a player at any team anywhere in the world that goes out to lose a game unless they bet on it. But that's a different conversation, which we won't get into. So I thought it was really unfair, and some of my comments, about taking responsibility were twofold. One, I wanted to protect these players because they didn't deserve the treatment they were getting because they weren't as bad as their results, and that's probably the most frustrating thing for me about PEI, is that these players were not as bad as the results show, and they were actually a middle of the pack team, and potentially in a one-game playoff could have beaten anybody. I still believe it. People call me naive, I think, Andrew, but that's my belief, and.
And everything was also magnified because of the shortness.
Oh, of course it was.
Yeah.
Of course it was. And
So-
and then part of so a big thing about really me stepping up, one, to want to protect the players, but two, though, when I thought, these players need a new voice, I thought that because they deserve a chance. And if the fact that my relationship with them is so deep and they've known me for so long and I can't get the best out of them, well, it's also not fair for the players. At the end of the day, so someone new will come in. And now they have to, their mindset has to change because now they have to impress this new manager. And so I think there's a real chance for Alan to come in here and get the best out of these players because they have to prove from day one of training that they deserve a starting spot. Maybe some of them have to prove that with me. And so you look at it that way. I just said so twice in a row there, by the way. I'm picking up on it myself now.
I didn't notice until you said it.
Me neither.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. But I think, though, the relationship piece about coaching is probably the most important piece. It's never taught on courses, although Canada Soccer now is starting to go that way. I'm delighted for Canada Soccer's change in coaching education because it's the missing component. Coaching is not X's and O's and ranting and hollering at halftime. Coaching is about creating relationships and trust. And, and some managers, look at the impact that Paul had with Pacific. Because those players, I think, trust everything that he does, and he's hard on them when he needs to be hard. But he also is there to put an arm around the shoulder when he needs to do that.
Right.
He's a really good man, Paul. And look what he was able to get out of the exact same players that were there a year previous that didn't show that. He got it out of them, So hopefully the same thing for FC Edmonton this year.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the Cynical Challenge.
Yeah, so you just started really recently. We're still a baby show. We haven't been around for a year. We're coming close to that year mark, so that's gonna be exciting. But you guys are just a couple weeks old, right?
Yeah, we are brand new. We've done 2 episodes. One episode was broken into 2 parts. We got a bit too excited on show 1, and it went really. So we broke it up into 2. We'll be doing recording episode 3 on Friday.
So what's the deal? Excited. Yeah. So what's the deal with Cynical Challenge? Tell us about it.
We wanted to do something. I mean, I love talking about the sport, and Grayson Knutson, and this will be my shot at One Soccer. How he is not working for One Soccer is beyond me. I mean, this is the best. This is the best in the business at what he does, Grayson Knutson, at running an interview, at asking really great, on the spot moments of keeping a conversation on the sideline with the coach during all that emotion. He can just keep everything focused. He's really, he is a talent. And, and I've always retained my friendship with Grayson from our FC Edmonton days together. So we talked about doing a show, and we wanted to do something just a little bit different. Right now, there's a lot of great shows, as you know, you guys have one, but there's some really good work out there. We want to be a bit different. We want to provide, when the season starts, for example, we're going to do some analysis. So we'll actually break down some video is what I want to do. For me, it allows me to really stay in the game, keep watching players, keep my eye on the CPL players, who's doing well, You know, be really excited for the Marcus Velados and Chance Carters and Anthony Caceres, the young ones that have a chance to develop and become too good for the CPL is my hope. So just as a fan of the game, as a fan of Canadian soccer, I wanted to be able to still, I guess, speak about it, and this will keep me really informed of what's going on in the CPL, which I'm quite invested in, obviously, as a fan of Canadian football. Grayson's the same, and then we introduce, Jeff, Jeff in there, and Jeff's brilliant because he has no filter, and he's going to challenge things, and he's got, his opinions on. He's got a million opinions on everything the league does wrong. So we'll have some good back and forth, right? Because I can counter some of that based on my inside knowledge. Now, what I won't do on my show is I'm not going to disclose any information that the league has private. So if it's not been disclosed by the league, I won't be the one to say things that are not public knowledge, because it's not my place to do that. I've got too much respect for the owners of the league, too much respect for the league, and too much respect for my, from the coaches that are, doing everything they can to help grow it at the clubs. But I will speak openly and give my opinion on things that are, public knowledge. And I just think that maybe I can, maybe have a different insight strictly because I've been in it for 2 years. And plus even the work up into that league, getting ready for the first season, the Island or the Got Game trials and all that stuff. Maybe I can just offer some different insights in a show, and that's really what kind of gave us the idea. And, and we love getting together and talking just like this. I mean, this is fun and we're enjoying it, so that's the other reason. It's a bit of fun, a bit of a fun thing to do.
Right. Well, it'd be great to see your breakdown, particularly of young players. If you start breaking down, some game tapes, because you're actually have been a professional coach. So, it'd be interesting to see your insight of what these young players are doing right and what they're doing wrong, and kind of, really getting into the nuances, right? So, you could kind of point out that body position that you were talking about earlier, or why he's taking a certain touch that way, stuff that's more, that would be more beneficial, let's say, to players that want to develop and become pro, whereas maybe One Soccer caters more to, the average fan.
Yeah, that's it's a valid comment that you've made and point, because some of the video analysis that we do want to break down, some of that stuff will be. I mean, I intend to use some of the stuff we do on the show with Edmonton Scottish and with our young players. And when I'm breaking down video, it's not just going to be for the show. This will be for our young players, and look at the movement here. Look how the player's receiving to play forward, or whatever it's going to be. This can be utilized. And the other. To be a bit cheeky with One Soccer, I've had to for 2 years, listen to them try to dissect my team, and 80% of it's wrong. So I thought, listen, instead of letting them just have the narrative and wrongly state what's going on in these games, how about I just come on and tell everybody, what actually happened. So so there's a bit of that as well. There's a bit of the gauntlet's been thrown, but One Soccer's been good to me, and even now they've been good to us. And we're able to utilize some of their video that they put on the web, and we obviously acknowledge them for that. But they've been great. So I say it jokingly. I mean, I get along with all the One Soccer guys, and they do a great job for the game and for that league. So yeah. Yeah,
and probably the best thing about One Soccer is what they're doing for Canadian soccer. Because even before One Soccer, I mean, sometimes you'd hear about the women's team playing or the men's team playing, and you can't find a feed unless you know how to do crazy stuff on the internet.
Right.
It's just if TSN didn't buy it, good luck trying to find it. And so it's kind of making it more accessible, because I think one of the interesting things about Canada is we're seeing a shift towards soccer as a culture. It's becoming more popular with younger people. And so hopefully this league can really remain viable, because that's the direction I see it going.
So the amazing thing with this, you're absolutely right, and it was always amazing to me over the last 2 years to see some of the negative threads that would have been said about One Soccer, or they're charging this, or this isn't right, or that's not right. This is not a Canadian company. We have Canadian companies that had no interest in picking up soccer. have no interest in picking up soccer. So the Canadian broadcasters in sports have no interest in it. An international company comes in, and not only are they interested in showing the game here, but they've invested heavily in the league. So they're a big reason why the league is able to kind of even get going, was because of their backing and their sponsorship of it. So yeah, I think that any of the negativity directed at them is misplaced. Because we wouldn't be on TV if it wasn't for One Soccer, and no one else was interested in the league, and so we forget that, and I think that you're right, and it's not now just to see, it's grown, it's past CPL, it's national team games and the games that we wouldn't see because TSM wasn't going to pick up, our U20, men's team or women's team playing, but One Soccer is going to,
right?
So yeah, I'm very thankful for again how they're helping us grow the game.
Yeah, they've created some new shows that have been exciting, as some specifically catered to the island games. So yeah, they've been doing a great job, like growing the league in Canada, growing the CPL, showing Canada soccer just in general, like under 20, women's, men's, and basically anything like that. And I want to go back to your podcast for a second. What is the one thing that you're looking forward to the most on your podcast going forward?
One thing, probably taking cheap shots at Tommy every chance I get. Yeah, I think Jack, I think it's the discussions that we can have that come from an honest place when we debate, between myself, Grayson, and Jeff. We have different opinions, and Jeff certainly has, his different views. So I think those honest discussions, where we kind of get into debates with each other. Some might even become heated. We don't know because we don't script. We know what we're going to talk. We have the theme that we're going to talk about. We give ourselves 3 themes per show, is what we're doing. But we don't create any script on those themes, and it just becomes open dialogue. And I really hope that we get to the point where the debate is interesting, it's natural, and it just comes from that spot where we're just speaking our minds and not scared to do that, and that's that's picked up and people resonate with it. That's probably it. Honest discussion.
Yeah, I love hearing fans talk about the games, and I personally love hearing like fans of the Wanderers, any fans that I've talked to, talk about the games and hear their opinions. So it's also going to be exciting to hear you guys share your opinions, because also they're not a whole bunch of shows that just focus on the CPL and just share their opinions.
Right.
Because we've done a lot more interviews than just like open discussion and dissecting and analysis. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where your show goes, and it seems very exciting.
No, thank you. Yeah, we hope.
All right, so I'm sold. So where can people find this podcast?
So the video version is on YouTube, and it's the Cynical Chal, CHAL1.
Okay.
Google, but a search on YouTube will find it because there's nothing I think named close to it.
I'll put the links in the description.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, that was the Cynical Chal 1. That's our Twitter handle. Sorry.
Okay.
And then on YouTube is strictly the Cynical Challenge, and I believe it comes up, under that search. I think we often put a link to it on our Twitter. We have a link to it on the Twitter channel. There's also audio version as well, which is now just strictly podcast. And again, those Grayson handles that, but the link for those, Grayson does have that, I believe, on our Twitter handle. And also whenever we release a show on Twitter, or I think Facebook, maybe, I don't know if he does Facebook, he puts a link for that as well. So yeah,
he's also done like these 1-minute clips of a preview of the episode.
Right.
The first episode, I was always wondering. I was wondering until I actually saw the episode, why is Jeff saying he's going to be Jeff the Good? I was waiting in the first episode. I was just waiting for that part.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that part.
I can't believe it, Jack. Honestly, that I'm the good one on this show, and but with Jeff, it's easy because he's always the bad one, and it just comes natural for him. So, yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a bit more about Canadian soccer and your opinions on how it can grow and how Canadian soccer can be better and just stuff like that. Because Canadian soccer is obviously growing with players like Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David going to to play in the top 5 leagues, in some of the top 5 leagues. So, in what do you think Canada's doing well in regards to youth talent, and what could they do better on going into the future? If you could choose 1 point for each.
Whew. Um, what are we doing well? Well, I think we made a real nice push with the growth of the female game in Canada and the success of the female game. I think there's been a really nice adoption of that success into the entire program, men's and women's. And part of that reason probably is John Herman's move to the men's side, brought the same philosophies, the same work. I mean, if people could see the amount of work that John Herman puts into everything he does, it's quite incredible. His detail in his work is just it's mind blowing. So that's also on the men's side now. So I think it's brought the both programs closer together in the way that the way that they act. That's been key. The I think we owe a big thanks to the MLS clubs and some places like Sigma for the amount they've contributed to player development in their academies that are funded. FC Edmonton at the time when we had a 16-18 academy was fully funded. So these are things that grow. But now going forward, Canada Soccer's national club license and standards-based training requirements to hold that license. I think that's the next step for the country because player development becomes the focus over winning at a young age. And so this is key for me. I think the next piece to encourage the continued growth, that piece is going to come from the revamping of our coaching education program because without good coaches, we will never have good players. And through Jason DeVos and Canada Soccer, the amount that they've contributed, they're bringing in top researchers in their field. It's no longer just about X's and O's and, can you run a good session? It's now looking at the mental side of the game, what child education looks like, not child soccer education, but child education. How do young people learn? And when we learn how to become teachers, we can become better coaches. And this is, I think, where Canada Soccer's really stepped up and committed a lot of resources into these fields to bring into coaching courses. So that is how we will even get better in the future than where we are now.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you.
So do you have a couple more questions, and then we should move into a quick fun rapid fire?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, my last question would be like any tips for learning for kids while they're watching soccer games? Because, like you mentioned earlier, kids watch a lot of hockey games. And I know soccer is a little bit more nuanced. It kind of takes a little more while to get into it. For the uninitiated, it looks like nothing's happening. But
Right.
the more you learn about soccer, the more nuanced you get, and you realize that wow, like it's just there's so many levels to this onion. So for a kid that wants to go pro, what should they be? How can they watch soccer better so they be able to kind of assimilate from what they're watching?
I would suggest that they learn to not just watch the ball. It's so hard, and no matter what sport we watch, whether it's basketball, hockey, because the camera's always fixated on where the ball is, and so our eyes tend to follow the ball. And this goes for young coaches, this goes for coaches that want to be or just getting into the game. And what I would say the same thing to coaches: stop watching the ball. And so this is the one thing for young players. If they can start to see what the players around the ball are doing, the type of movements that they're making, the type of space they're creating, are they coming to the ball, are they going away from the ball, are they playing in between lines of defenders, are they playing between two players, are they breaking a line, are they making a run past the back line, for example, either for themselves or to create space for another player. So that would be the one thing I think where our players can learn is to learn to watch the game that's happening away from where the ball is at that moment.
Great point.
Yeah. Yeah, a really good point. And I just have one more question for you, and then we'll move into the rapid fire. So, what was it like with the Canadian Soccer Association? So we haven't really touched on that a lot, but I just wanted to get one question in about that part of your time in soccer.
Yeah, I was very lucky. For the first, I was in that program for about 6 years. My first 2 years, I volunteered, and I was able to have I was introduced to Sean Fleming, who was a director. So my relationship with Sean has gone back a long time, and he was a director of the National Training Center Prairies. I was introduced by him through one of my greatest mentors ever, and that's Graham Wood. And I went, honestly, for the first year or two, I went and I took notes. I watched them train players. And then eventually I started, halfway through year one, I started going on the pitch and picking up cones, passing soccer balls back in when they were going out of play, but just being a helper. And then when I got the chance, I would sit and talk with Bert Goldberger, who was just, for me, probably one of the greatest soccer minds the country's ever had. He moved here from Austria and was just, many years ago for me, yeah, just a top man. So, part of me doing that and volunteering to come and just be that person to help out was, I would get to bend the ear of Sean. I would get to who of course had a fantastic national team record. I mean, he took two under 17 teams to the World Cup. So Sean was obviously somebody that has a great knowledge in the game, and then Bert. My third year, Sean actually started to put me on staff, and now I was running training sessions myself, and I was just part of the technical staff for the National Training Center. So my last 4 years, I was a staff member for that program, running sessions, doing scouting weekends, and absolutely loved it. It was working with the top male and female players aged 14 to 17, and it really was my introduction into what high performance looked like. And yeah, so I'm very thankful. Sean gave me the opportunity, and then I think at some point when I probably earned, had been there and earned an opportunity, he gave it to me by bringing me on as a staff member. So really good time for me, really good experience, a lot of learning, a lot of education, and helped my growth in the game for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like a great experience and a great 6 years. So
Yeah.
now I'm gonna move into the rapid fire question. As long as I don't have any more questions. Just want to double
No,
check. Okay,
let's go
great.
rapid fire.
All right.
Okay, so rapid fire is less soccer related, um, and just kind of to know you better as a person, because
Okay.
I think that's a fun part of the show that not a lot of soccer shows have.
Good point.
Okay, so do you play FIFA,
Yes.
Xbox, or PS4?
PS4.
Okay, um, do you have a nickname?
JP.
Okay, do you have a favorite like coach in Europe?
Probably Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, he's a great one to watch. I love watching
Yeah.
Man City. Um, I didn't really watch him too much when he was with Barcelona, but I heard that he was excellent with
Oh,
Barcelona.
fantastic. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite club?
Liverpool.
So
Okay,
you
so you're
must be
better.
happy.
Not today. They lost
No, I guess
today,
not
but
today.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was,
But
yeah,
overall,
a few
over the
months
last
ago.
15 years. Yeah, a
Yeah,
few months
yeah,
ago. Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. What would you be doing right now if you were not involved with soccer?
Teaching.
Okay. Uh, what is one superpower you would like to have?
I'd like to be able to fly.
Okay, that's cool. Do you cook?
I do.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
Oof. I cook everything. I do all of our cooking here. Yeah. Let me see. My favorite thing to cook? Um, Lobster.
Oh yeah.
Oof.
For my grandmother's 80th birthday, we had a bunch of lobsters.
Right?
So it was really because she loves lobsters, so it's really fun to eat lobsters, and it's so good with melted butter.
So listen, I miss it. I'm here in Edmonton, and all we have is dust and man-made lakes, and there's no lobsters. And I mean, they try to say there's lobster here, but they're about 7 days old by the time you get them.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay. What is one place in the world you'd like to visit?
New Zealand.
Okay. What's your favorite movie or documentary?
Oof. Favorite movie. Favorite movie. Favorite movie. Great question. Well, that's not very rapid fire on my part, is it?
No, it's fine. This actually rapid fire actually takes a long time for people to answer. I I try to
Um,
pick rapid fire questions, but then it's not as rapid fiery as usual. But you've been doing great.
yeah, I've been trying. Yeah, favorite movie though. Oh, there's so many that I like.
It could be a documentary too, if that makes it easier.
Yeah. Um, you know what? I will go with the original Star Wars.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
nice.
Um, I just have one jumping question here. Have you seen, because you are a football manager, I'm going to ask if you've seen Ted Lasso.
You know, I don't have Apple TV, but I've seen enough of the previews that I need to get Apple TV just for that.
Okay. I thought it was going to be bad because I kind of like soccer, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
I've heard that. I've heard that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to watch it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, my and daddy love that show.
Yeah. I'm told there's actually good coaching lessons in there by other coaches, so I need to watch it.
Okay. What's your favorite animal?
Lion.
Okay, nice. What are 3 words to define you?
Um, 3 words to define me. I think honest, um, open, um, loyal.
Yeah, I see those in you in the 1 hour and 48 minutes and 45 seconds that we've talked to you. I definitely see those in you. And now, my final rapid fire question, but it's kind of more of a closing up question, is what are your goals for the future?
My goals for the future. Um, well, my final goal for my future is to retire in Nova Scotia on the South Shore around Chester. So that's my final goal. But yeah, you know what? Right now, my goals right now, to just we've got really big plans and some massive vision at Scottish, and so my goals right now are just helping be a part of kind of what we have planned, and if we do, if things do kind of work out the way that we're hoping here, we'll have a training facility that will, only probably only the Whitecaps and TFC will rival. Um, so that for our players, and yeah, and to have programming we want to be the best producing, player producing program, certainly in Western Canada, but even bigger. So those are probably immediate goals.
Yeah, those are some high goals, but I definitely think you guys can achieve that at Edmonton Scottish. And I'm also very excited to see your new programs that are coming up. And yeah, Nova Scotia is a really nice place. So once you're done with soccer, you can come here.
There you
Um,
go. Yeah.
We'll let you back in.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I know right now I keep me out. Do not let anyone from Alberta into your province right now because COVID is off the charts here. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
turn back those flights at the moment. If they're coming from Alberta, say no.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, keep your province safe. But well, who knows? Jack, maybe I'm there. When the supporters chanting your name. So hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully and maybe. So thank you so much, Jeff, for coming on to the show. We really appreciate it and spending so much time with us and answering our questions so thoughtfully. We really enjoyed your answers. So yeah, thank you for just coming on to the show and agreeing to do this interview.
Yeah, no, thanks guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. You guys do a great job. And honestly, it's the best questioning that you get, from anyone that does this. So you guys do a great job, and I'm delighted to be here. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. We really
Yeah, thank you
appreciate
so much.
your time, and yeah, we loved your answers. We loved this interview.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks,
There you
Jeff.
go. Okay. Well,
Okay.
listen, you guys have a great night. Stay safe. Of course, it's easier there than here. So, but yeah, and I'll look forward to your next shows.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Take
All right.
care.
Thanks,
All right. All
Jeff.
the
See
best.
you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.